restream. Okay. Restream seems to have swapped over, no problem. We'll see what Facebook does, but whatever. Everything else is working. All right.
By the way, StreamYard is working really well.
I saw your publish.
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course.
It worked fantastically.
Always there to help a friend.
Thanks.
All right.
Fantastic.
All right. So I'm going to hit record on me, record on audio. Make sure that recording is set for you. It is. I'm going to hit record on you. All right. And away we go. I think. Good evening from Plugkit Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 560 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology for Sunday, May 3rd, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Steam is leaving the orchard, Bezos is headed to Congress, and Universal is not invited to the AMC party. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, on our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, on a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of others, on the radio, or on our website, plugkitslive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are 3 ways that you can do that. First, you can join us live, normally Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us during the show and give your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Or you can listen on 88.1 WMLD in the New York area or on their website, Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. Or, of course, you can always go to plugkitslive.com/subscribe. And there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live and The Pilch Point, Plugkits Live Presents, and a whole lot more, and find out about all the ways you can subscribe, watch, and listen. Now, we made a promise that we were going to be testing some new technology tonight, and we did. It did not work. And so here we are under our normal circumstances, back the way we always are. But we have been streaming on several of our platforms constantly for the last 36 hours. If you saw any of that streaming, that was coming through the piece of hardware we promised to test tonight. It worked great all weekend until 10 minutes ago. When it decided it didn't want to anymore. Whatevs. That's the reason why we have backups, and so we're back up and running. So just wanted to get that out there. Abram, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad. Not bad. Could be worse. Really happy to be here. Really happy to be safe in my house with everything going on, and
Sure.
able to be able to do my job from here. So things could definitely be worse, and definitely spending more time at home has given me more time to play with different electronics that I've gotten in, especially Raspberry Pi stuff that I have giant piles of to mess with. So it's cool.
Quickly becoming the Raspberry Pi guy.
There's a lot of Raspberry Pi folks. It's just my personal something I personally enjoy a great deal, but I'm no expert compared to other people. But we certainly, turn up the amount of coverage that we have on Tom's Hardware because not only is it really cool stuff, but we actually are getting a lot of readership for it.
Mhm.
So people are coming to read the different Raspberry Pi news that we put up on a pretty much daily basis. So and then the toys come out, and I get to play with them. And sometimes, if I can pull him away from Minecraft, my son plays with them too, as we did today. So, which I'll get into later. But yeah, so it's been cool. And then, of course, on your recommendation, I tried a new tool this week, StreamYard, which we used to do our first ever Tom's Hardware live stream show. And I have to say that we're going to start doing it on the regular.
Yes.
Uh, I think we will. I think the time that we did it was pretty good, so I think we may just do it again. I keep doing it again, which is 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays.
Hmm.
Um, so Streamyard gets high marks for me. If you want to do your own video live stream as we are doing right here, Scott does not has a lot of fancy equipment in the studio that he uses for this, but and it certainly gives you more options and
Yeah.
flexibility than you would get with an online tool like StreamYard. But StreamYard uh, lets you do all of this stuff pretty seamlessly from pretty much any computer you want. You don't need to have fancy software. You don't need to have a powerful CPU. You don't even need to have a great internet connection because it's just like dialing into a meeting at Google Meet or Zoom
Yeah.
or other Facebook or anything like that. And if you have the account, you can control the look of it, control the split screen. It will stream. It will stream to a variety of services that you want in real time, like such as YouTube and Facebook Live, um, and it's available for free. But for free, it has the StreamYard logo on it. It doesn't
Right.
let you do a lot of things. So then, if you want to pay for it, it's $20 a month, which is very reasonable.
Hmm.
So
And
Scott turned me on to that, and I have to say it's fantastic.
when you think about all the things that it does, you know, yes, the stuff that we do with ours is bigger, but that's because the stuff that we do with ours is bigger, right? The things that we do at conferences and things like that with multicam from the same location and all those things. That's because we're limited on internet connection, right? We couldn't do a cloud service like that. But you know, if you're just trying to do multi-location streaming, it works real well. Geek News Central was using it while he was rebuilding his studio, and for $20 a month, yeah, considering just the software that we use in here is 800. Yeah, that it, it takes a long time at $20 a month to get to get to that 800,
Yeah,
and you
I mean,
keep getting the new
yeah,
features. You know,
I I hope they're doing well. I hadn't heard of them before you told me, so I hope that they are doing well and are going to stay in business and grow because I've not seen any other thing like it, and it is a really really
yeah,
fantastic service that needs and deserves more attention.
agreed. Um,
Although their login system is very weird and makes me think that if they became a larger company, they would have to change that because it's bizarre. Uh, which is there's no password. When you log in, every single time you log in, it sends you an email code that's only good for 15 minutes.
uh huh.
They don't there's no there's no permanent password. Now I think
I've
it kind of
encountered those.
saves you, so if you haven't logged out, you're still logged in, I guess, over forever. I don't know if it's forever, but um it's I don't know what you call that. 1FA? It's not 2FA because there's only one factor.
Yes. Okay. So, uh, uh, not saying any names because I really like the company, but there's this project that I'm working on. The company has implemented a two-factor authentication system, but they don't use a password. It's the exact same thing. So the app opens up, you get a temporary, like a Microsoft authenticator or a Google authenticator, but that's not what they use. So you put in your email address, and then it takes you to another screen where you have to get the thing out of the app. But that's still only one factor. That it's
Right.
not that's not what two factor authentication is. So same kind of weird thing. They kind of missed the boat on what two factor authentication means. But you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it's bizarre, and they have like an FAQ about it, and they're like, we found that passwords aren't very good, so we just use this, which is, I
okay.
understand passwords get stolen a lot, so I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's very odd because I've never seen another service do this sort of 1FA stuff.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Anyway,
Only the second factor of two factor authentication.
yeah,
They skipped the
yeah,
first one. So it's second factor authentication. TFA
yeah.
or SFA, whatever. Weirdness. Um, on my side, like I mentioned earlier, we've been streaming for the last 36 hours up until 90 minutes ago. It's been a crazy weekend. We did a collaborative project with like 8 different groups within the Amrock family, and we produced a video on uh, somebody being in the bathroom, not having toilet paper, kind of opens the door and says, "Hey, can you help me out?" and hands the empty roll out. And all of our groups individually added to the roll in their own way. So we've got a woman who owns a robotics like education company, and so she built a little robot to spin it up. And uh, Steve is like a handyman, so he had a drill, and our drone guy had a drone involved in his, and Marissa, who most of our viewers in Avram know, she did a Mario themed thing with a mushroom because makes it bigger, right? So it was a tremendous amount of fun, and we streamed all weekend long. And I cannot believe that after 36 hours of that, we're still going. But that's because we've got a lot of news to cover, and we're going to get to that right now. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, a Surface, Surface, an Xbox One, either S or X, or a whole lot more, like phones and games and VR headsets, you can find all of them at the Microsoft Store. And if you're a student or military, you can get a discount on almost all of the products in the store. And you can find out about all of that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. All right. I know this is 3 in a row, but it's an important topic right now, and it's getting weirder this week. So for the last 2 weeks, we have talked about contact tracing, which obviously Apple and Google have kind of been the face of, but they're not the only ones that are building technology to help trace human contact. You know, it's there's technology in China already that we know that keeps track of who interacts with who, so that if there's a dissident, they can it's a difficult concept and a difficult topic, but it's been covered a lot. It's out there. The social ranking system is based on it. Well, if you've been following our show for a while, you'll recognize that there is a company here in the United States that has been doing something similar-ish been doing facial identification, Clearview AI, and it turns out that they might or might not, but almost certainly are involved in contracts with departments in the United States and possibly abroad, but our government doesn't care about the abroad part, um, to use facial identification, their facial identification, for contact tracing. Now, obviously, there's a couple of problems here. First and foremost is the accuracy of the system has been nebulous. There's been a lot of question as to how accurate the Clearview AI facial identification system has been, because they've been incredibly secretive until they were outed by the New York Times. What was it, in November? Nobody knew they even existed, let alone that they had a product out in the wild that police officers were already using. And so they've been quiet about who they are, what they do, and as such, we don't know how well it works. But it's been questionable from those who have used it. But on top of that, there's also the privacy issue. Clearview's terms of service basically say that they will keep content that is run through their system indefinitely. And so if you're running video through it off of a camera in, say, a high trafficked area, which is probably the intention here, right? We don't care about unused sidewalks. We care about a place like Times Square in New York or Ybor City here in Tampa. That would be the place where people are going to come in contact with a lot of people. It's going to store a lot of new information, and it's going to get real good at figuring out who it doesn't know, which is kind of a terrifying concept. So Congress has asked, well, a particular senator said Senator Markey from Massachusetts has asked the company for information on who they're in discussions with and any contracts that are pending or completed.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I was just looking at some of the many articles about why the Apple Google contact tracing software won't actually help that much. And it's putting the cart before the horse. And so the the you know, yeah, basically we're just asking for more data collection that may not help that much. For one, for this to work, you need to actually know who's infected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's just like the baseline is that you don't actually know who's infected.
Right.
So, if if everybody was being tested all the time, which we're so far from, you can't even get a test unless you have symptoms in most places, which means it's already too late. You've spread
Right.
it. Um, the you know the apps the contact tracing is going to provide a false sense of security because most people who get it aren't tested, don't have a positive test. Second of all, who's going to notify them when you now no longer have it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to be permanently a pariah on the system? Because I mean,
Yep.
like I can foresee this becoming like a credit rating type of thing where you got to contact the credit bureau over and over again to fix a mistake. Oh wait, Google, Apple, listen, here I had to go to the doctor to show you that I no longer have COVID-19. Can you please stop flagging everyone who comes within 6 feet of me as being infected, therefore
Mm-hmm.
triggering, I don't know, you know, maybe law enforcement or something, like to come after people. Oh, hey, you got a quarantine because you were near this person, but wait,
Yep.
he hasn't had COVID-19 for a month. But if the app isn't constantly up to date with what people, plus if people can't get tested when they have symptoms, how are they going to get tested when they don't, when they no
Right.
longer have them? I mean, when you're in the hospital, they will test you before you leave, but that's only people who've been hospitalized,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I were to go out, if I got symptoms and I were able to get a test today, which which that's kind of the criteria. I could make an appointment at. There's a couple of places in town where you could go and you could make an appointment, and if you say you have symptoms, they may actually force you to take a flu test first to make sure that you don't have the flu before they spend a COVID test on you. So like, if you don't have correct data to work from, what what is the point,
Yeah, what good is
right?
any of this if the essential single point of data is questionable or faulty? And in this case, the questionable or faulty data is not coming from Clearview.
Right, right. So, but meanwhile, to your point, they're going to take this data, they're going to keep the data, and they're going to use it for other things. So, I think people have a right to be concerned. Like, I mean, I think if there is a way to make it workable, that it could help prevent infections, and you felt a decent degree of accuracy in it, then having these contact tracing apps would be good.
Sure.
But I I don't think, and you know what, maybe in other countries where they have a lot of testing, a high percentage of people have been tested, there's more compliance with things like social distancing. Um, you know, maybe such an app. I mean, do they have these type of apps in South Korea? I think.
I don't know about South Korea. I do know that they've been in development in other countries, though.
Yeah. So I think.
Ahead of the APIs from Google and Apple,
Right.
there have been some more direct methods.
So yeah, I think that's what you got. I think you
Yeah,
need to have the robust testing in place before you can have the robust contact
sure,
tracing work. And there will have to be a human element to the contact tracing to,
sure.
hire people to do it. Um,
But I
so
don't. But I don't know that having, even if all of the essential stuff was in place, I still don't know if having Clearview involved would make it any better, or if it would just make it closer to China's social ranking system. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah, they're too they're too like NSA dark underground for me. If they were to bring themselves out into the light a little bit more, maybe people would start to feel more comfortable with them. But they are way too dark and shady for me to have any comfort with them. So, um, obviously, the letter was just sent, and being this kind of organization, will they respond? Will they fight it and wait? Will wait for a subpoena, or what will happen? Who knows? Um, but this is a big topic, and with this type of platform intending to hit the market this month, uh, my guess is there will not be a whole lot of wait before we find out how they respond and what's going on here. So this week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. When you're browsing the internet, you want to protect your identity there as well. And a product like PureVPN is a great way to do that because it obfuscates your browsing, both from Google and Facebook, as well as from your ISP. Plus, if you're away from home, you want to be able to use a location-based service. You can use the VPN to report that you are back in the US and you can still watch Hulu, that type of thing. And they're running some great deals right now. And to find out about those deals, you can go to pilchpoint.live/purevpn. All right. And before I sneeze, here, Abram, because it's coming. What have you got for us this week?
All right, so I want to talk about some positive stuff going on. Maybe not all over the world, but right here. Um, as longtime listeners know, we do at Tom's Hardware, which is my day job. We do a lot of, and we've been increasing the amount of coverage we do of Raspberry Pi projects and news because it's very popular and it's just a lot of fun. We've started to highlight the top new projects that people have done each month, and provide resources where you can do them yourself. And also, we've got some projects that people can do with their kids. So if you go to tomshardware.com this week, you'll see um, our list of the top 10 Pi projects of May. These include a connected garage door opener, where someone has taken a Raspberry Pi Zero, connected it to the motors that control their garage door, and had it actually like log garage door opens, which is kind of funny. Someone has taken a Raspberry Pi and turned it into a fitness trainer that uses image recognition. So it looks at your workout and it gives you advice. Like, I don't know, if you do a yoga pose, like you did it wrong, um, using image recognition.
Oh,
Um,
like Xbox
they
Fitness.
Yes, it's the project is known as called HIT Pi, HIIT space PI.
Nice.
Um, there, another project someone did was a toilet paper claw that picks up rolls of toilet paper. I guess um, another is an automated drink mixer because you need a robot bartender. Um,
And you don't want to buy the one
and
from Keurig?
Yes, or the one whenever we go to Las Vegas, they always have this like restaurant that has a robot bartender. Um,
The the
Another
one
cool project.
the one at Planet Hollywood.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I never have drank there. One of the most popular stories that we did, projects that we covered this month was uh, from a 15-year-old guy who lives in India. It is called the Raspberry Pi PC Hardware Stats Monitor,
Oh.
and what it does is it you connect it to your computer, and it gives you and it on a separate screen gives you information about what your PC is doing, such as the temperature, the CPU speed, the fan speed, um, how much of your RAM is in use, and a very attractive looking UI. So it's like, if you want to see what your PC is doing, um, you can you can do that project. And another one that a lot of people really enjoyed reading about when we wrote about the first time is uh, making your Raspberry Pi operating system look like Windows XP.
Mhm.
Someone has come out with a version of the Raspberry Pi operating system, Raspbian, and made it look just like Windows XP. uh, if you miss Windows XP, I don't miss it that much. It was nice in its day. Um,
Was it though?
so these are all, eh, I
That
mean, in its day,
that weird
it was
blue
okay.
weird blue
Yeah.
taskbar. I don't know.
So I'm going to show folks
Ooh.
on the if those who are watching the video feed. Ooh, it does. You can't see the rainbow colors in the camera because it's all blurry. That I'm showing here a Raspberry Pi that has the official Pi Sense hat on it, and what the Sense hat does is, mind you, it seems for some reason that when I boot this up and it is not connected to a monitor, the light does not turn off, which is weird.
Hmm.
But I do it connected to a monitor, no problem. So little weird. Anyway, so what the Sense Hat does is, here I'll unplug it, is it allows you to. It's a really cool thing to put onto your accessory. It's like $30 for your Raspberry Pi. This is like what a Raspberry Pi looks like without it, and then you just put it onto the 40 GPIO pins. up here, and it gives you a bunch of capabilities that are great for doing projects with your kids. And my son, who's 8, and I were playing with it this afternoon. Uh, First of all, there's this light matrix that's 8 by 8, um, light 8 by 8 LED lights that you can make, like do all kinds of cool things like scroll words and messages, draw pictures. But it's called a sense
So
hat, not a
so
lighting hat.
so you can control
Yeah.
each one individually as a pixel.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Correct. You can draw on it. You can make animations, and you can very easily make it have a scrolling message. Um, it What my son was actually doing with it earlier, and you can program it in Scratch, Scratch 3 to be exact, which is a popular programming language for kids because it's block based and you drag the blocks around.
Mhm.
um, but you can also program it in Python and do some more things with it. uh, the light part of it is the coolest looking part, but it is not the part that makes it be called the sense hat. It has a bunch of sensors on it. So it has a temperature sensor, it has a humidity sensor, um, it has, I think, a pressure sensor, it has an accelerometer that reacts if you tilt it, and it has a little joystick on it. All of these things you can use together to do cool projects. This Sense Hat, not this one in my hand, of course, uh, it has been on the International Space Station as part of what they call the AstroPi project, where kids actually have submitted programs to be run on a Raspberry Pi that lives on the International Space Station. Um, but we've got an article about on Tom's Hardware about some of the really neat sort of beginner projects that you and your kids can enjoy with a Raspberry Pi in the Sense hat. One is to actually program the accelerometer so that you can use this as a controller to control a character on screen. Another is to have it change color based on the temperature in the room. So if it's too hot or if it's too cold, it turns blue, and if it's too hot, it turns red. Um, Another, is to just use the joystick to control things. One thing that my son and I did is he's been working on a really simple game in Python using a library called Pygame, which allows you to make really easy games. And this is one where you drive a car around, you try to avoid obstacles, and you could get hit by an obstacle. And he made it so that if you crash, it says on the screen, "You crashed." Uh, Scrolls by. So he he worked this into the game. Um, Granted, it's just kind of cute. Um, I have a project actually that I am working on, but I'm still looking for some advice for folks who would have some, um, where I want to make a Raspberry Pi hand washing timer. And I think I could possibly put the output of the timer, like the count down or count up
Yeah.
to 20 seconds, uh, use on this LED grid. I mean, obviously, I could also put it, an actual screen on, or an e-ink display. Would probably use less power than this, but I'm just thinking about how a person might trigger the hand washer, because I don't want to have it be done via buttons, because I guess your hands are dirty or germy or whatever. You don't want to touch the device. So if you put this behind your sink or above your sink, and you wanted it to count that 20-second countdown, so you've washed your hands for long enough to disinfect them, what would be your way of turning it on? Would it be like a noise, like clapping, or motion detection? Um, uh, Theoretically, it could detect the humidity from the sink, but that seems like kind of imprecise. Like, what if you're using the sink for something else, or it's still humid after you turn the sink off? So I don't know. I'm kind of looking for the right interface for turning it on, whether it's a sound based one or a motion based one, that would not involve actually touching it. And then I'm looking for how would I get this in a water resistant case so that if somebody splashes from the sink, it doesn't destroy
Uh-huh.
their Raspberry Pi. So, but
Interesting.
that is a that is a project I feel like I could do with the Sense Hat, possibly. And so I really encourage people to check out some of the cool projects that people did for May 2020 Raspberry Pi projects on tomshardware.com. And we also have separately an article on 3 really elementary articles you can do with your kids using the Sense Hat.
Interesting. Okay, so I am thinking. Obviously, this is way more, way more work, but you could. There is a compatible from our friends at Adafruit. Uh, there is a water flow sensor that works with the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess you could do that, but keep in mind there's a lot of times you use the sink for things other than doing a regular
Washing
hand
hands.
washing.
Yeah,
Like what if it's the kitchen sink you're washing dishes? You don't need the countdown for that. So,
sure.
um, I think you'd have to have a person initiate it.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
but it's something I've been thinking about for a few weeks because I haven't seen anybody else do it, and I think it would be relevant and timely if I can get it
Sure.
done before before this virus goes away. But I think we have a while with that, unfortunately. So um, we have a while yet where people are going to be want to be washing their hands for 20 seconds. So um,
Ho- Hopefully, that's everybody's normal.
yes, this is true. But I mean, like now there's an emphasis on making sure that you've done it for 20 seconds. Now, for my son, I'd like to have to not only to have it remind him to do other things like actually use soap and turn the sink off after he's done, which he has a tendency not to do.
Oh.
Um, but that's another story. Maybe I need to actually make a Raspberry Pi that listens to hear if there's a flush and alerts me if there hasn't been. Um, anyway,
Okay, that's funny. Uh, so you could use the screen uh, to do a little animated, like a hand soap pump animation
yeah,
at
yes,
at like the 5 second mark.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Well, I
goodness.
tell you before, it'll have to give you like a startup, right? Because like you do it, then you turn on the sink and put soap in your hand, I assume. So like, yeah, there has to kind of be a countdown for the countdown, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. This is a fun project that is right up there with our filling a toilet paper roll. I love this. It's it's a tremendous amount of fun. I always love hearing about the projects people are doing with Raspberry Pi, with Arduino, with all kinds of things. I always love to hear about people's projects because you get an interesting sense about the person, and we've gotten we've gotten some interesting stuff about about some people with your projects here. So thank you for that, and as always,
Yep.
I look forward to what we'll talk about next time. This week's Extra Life and F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new keyboard and mouse like we're using here in the studio, you need a controller for your Xbox or your PC, or you're looking for a whole system like one of the Razer Blade laptops. Razer's got it all. And to find out about the deals that are running right now and all the products that are available, you can go to f5live.tv/Razer. All right, so this last year has been an interesting one for VR. We've talked about a couple of platform ends. Google put an end to their Daydream platform and then open sourced it. Gear VR has officially kind of seen the end of itself, which was predicted. Um, but here we are in a time when escaping reality would be helpful for a lot of people without leaving the house. And that's kind of what VR does, right? It gives you a different reality without having to leave where you are. And yet, another platform is seeing its demise, and that is the surprisingly short-lived Steam VR for Mac OS. The platform's only been around for a couple of years on Mac OS, far shorter than it's been on Windows or Linux, but it's it's really not all that surprising to me because anybody who's owned a Mac knows that games just aren't there. That's just not the platform that game developers spend any time on. They'll spend more time building a game for Linux than they will for Mac. So the idea that Valve would say, "All right, there's not enough people using this for the resources that it's requiring, so we're out." It's not all that surprising to me. It's been decades
Yeah,
of Mac not being the place for games.
yeah. Mac's not a place for games, and now you have something that's a super narrow niche, which is VR gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they have numbers to back this up somewhere
Sure.
internally that no one was using it. It's not surprising that no one was using it, but I'm sure that they also are well aware of how many people actually were using it, and it was probably nobody. So while it would be nice to think that VR is popular everywhere, what we've seen the last year is a condensing of VR down to the best and most popular platforms, I think, and that I think has will ultimately be good for the future of VR
Mm-hmm.
because you had all this like eh, mediocre VR that was, oh, take a phone and stick it in front of your face, which
Mm-hmm.
was what Gear VR was and Daydream. It was like, well, we don't want to pay for a real headset, which I get because it's expensive. So I'm just going to take a phone. I'm going to stick it in front of my face.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess that's okay. But I think I think what we saw was it wasn't people didn't really like to do it. It wasn't very popular. People who really liked VR were committed to getting a real headset,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe also a lot of people like me were raised to not stick your face in front of the TV, and it just seems so too much like that. Like, when I was a kid, you get too close, parents would say like you're gonna go blind if you get your face too close to the TV, or
Or your eyes are
I
gonna
think my mom
cross.
told me once. I think my mom told me once that standing too close to TV causes cancer or something like that. I mean, this is when we had tube TVs, folks.
Yeah.
So, uh, when I first heard about things like the Gear VR, where they said take your phone and stick it directly in front of your eyeballs,
Yeah.
I was like, shouldn't isn't that against what my mom told me?
And when you look at in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the people and the actual usage of Gear VR, for example, um, it was mostly people who got the headset for free with their phone. In particular, um, sorry, I think we have a pirate in the Twitter chat room or Twitch chat room. Um, anyway, what? Yes, Gear VR. They're the people who got them free with their phones. The S8 and the S8 Plus. You could get it for free, and a lot of people still didn't. But those who did, they used them for a little while. They enjoyed watching their mother or their grandmother freak out and fall off of a chair, and they filmed it, sent it into America's Funniest Home Videos, and that was the end of using the Gear VR. And and in addition to that, the fact that developing for all these different platforms just is not inexpensive, right? It's the reason why games aren't made for Mac. I know, grand statement that's not really true, but you know what I mean. um, the cost of developing for Mac versus the cost of developing for Windows or Linux is way higher, partially because there's not as many Mac developers, and partially because, you know, the things that you can do on it are very limited because that's the Apple ecosystem. So, you know, the cost is higher. There's less of them out there, and the number of people who are buying VR is niche anyway, and trying to add, you know, VR niche on top of Apple niche, which is there is no way this was ever going to be a successful thing. So, you know, like you said, limiting the scope, and kind of shrinking that down in this particular case is probably a good thing, because you're not trying to develop the same game for Linux and Windows and Mac and Gear VR and Daydream and, you know, all these. Oh, the cost of developing a VR game is so high, and then 8 people buy it. It's just, there's no way that's good for the longevity of the marketplace. So, you know, going for Steam VR and Oculus basically on Windows and maybe Linux as your go-to totally makes sense to me. So this move makes sense. And just as a warning, Steam VR is not going anywhere for Linux or for Windows. They're committed to those. It's just Mac OS that's seeing the end. So it seems like the right move to me. It doesn't seem surprising, and B, it seems like the right move. So, This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities, such as Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny, which I will use again because my internet's not working. The way it works is, for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, you know, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. Suburban Sasquatch is apparently the movie for tonight. They also do short films, those industry insiders. I should have known this one because they posted on Facebook earlier today. Anyway, industry inside films, those educational films. And they also have live events that make their way to the website, and you can purchase those as well. And to find out about all of the feature films, the short films, and the live events that are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. They called it Sunburn Gorilla on Facebook. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Last year, there was a lot going on in Congress with big tech, obviously prompted by the stuff that was going on at Facebook. A lot of executives were called in to testify in front of Congress from Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and when Amazon's counsel was in front of Congress, one of the questions they were asked, and it seems like a reasonable question, is how Amazon handles its seller data as Amazon's private label and white label business is growing, right? There's a lot of products that are Amazon Basic, or, honest to God, if you go look at the list of private and white label brands that Amazon owns, you'd be shocked. It's huge. And so as that grows, the question was how they handle seller data for their competitors versus, you know, their white label or private label products. And the council said without hesitation that Amazon does not access or view seller data to determine its private label and white label product mix. Well, turns out that may not be the case. A report from the Wall Street Journal revealed after conversations with more than 20 employees, former Amazon employees, all of whom worked within the private and white label division of the company. They said that they were frequently pressured to use Amazon's existing data to determine what their product mix would be. And one of the examples they used was a trunk organizer. They didn't mention the big brand by name, but they said they went and they looked at the big brand product, the one that's purchased the most on Amazon, looked at the features, looked at the reviews to determine what it was that people wanted, what it was that people didn't want, and the things that they didn't care about. And then they went off and built their own trunk organizer to compete and figured out based on how much they make from listing this one, how much profit they should make on their own so that they could bring the price down and undercut the big brand. So that put the statements from last year in perjury territory, which is not a great place to be when you're a company who's already kind of messing around with the federal government. We know Amazon has sued the government over the Microsoft Azure contract. So there's already a bit of an adversarial relationship there. Getting into the perjury territory is probably not a great place to be. What do you think, Abram?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think it will be hard. I mean, I don't know if is there a law requiring them not to use that data, or is the problem only that they said that they wouldn't use it and that they might be doing what they said they didn't do?
There does not appear to be any. Okay, so there's no hard and fast law specifically about this. What the territory that they're entering here is anti-competitive, right? It's antitrust stuff, where they're using their market position to harm their competitors, which this would definitely fall into that category if you're looking at the sales and features of your competitors who sell on your platform to determine what products you should make to compete against them. You're definitely getting into antitrust territory there.
Yeah, well, certainly a lot of the data that you mentioned is public, therefore, but not the profit amount and the sales data.
Right.
But if you're talking about what do people want and what is top selling, you can get that info. Like I can get that information from Amazon right now because I can go and I can look at if I trust the ratings, right?
Sure.
I can go and look at the user ratings and the user comments on anything right now, and I can use that data to, to decide what product I'm going to make.
Sure, but what you don't have access to is Amazon's customer service data on the reasons people may be returning them or exchanging them, things like that, which would definitely be internal data.
Yes, and I also don't know what the profit margin is on it. Although Amazon knows what its profit margin is for listing the products, but they don't necessarily know what the brand's margin is. Like if I'm making a trunk organizer and I am selling it for $50, and Amazon takes I have no idea, I'm making these numbers up, takes $5 of the $50. What Amazon doesn't know, or I mean, I guess maybe they could find out, but not through their data, is how much it costs me to make the $50 trunk organizer, what my profit margin is on the trunk organizer. All they know is Amazon is making $5.
Right.
So if Amazon can make more than $5
and sell it for less
on the first on the first party, then they will, then it's a win for the company.
Right. Yeah. So if they can make $8 and sell it for 40 instead of making $5 and selling it for 50, yes,
Yeah.
they'll get they'll almost certainly get more sales and more profit, both of which will directly harm the competitor with information that is Amazon's, and that's the place where there was conversation a long time ago when Amazon started to lean hard into the first party stuff. There was another there was another hearing. I don't know if it was in front of Congress, but I know there was another. It might have been the SEC, um, where they were investigating what white labeling and private labeling might do if you're both a marketplace and competing against your own marketplace.
Um, not I'm not saying Amazon has done nothing wrong here, but doesn't Walmart do the same thing? Doesn't Target do the same thing? Like they're a marketplace. People, I mean, it's mostly physical retail, but nevertheless, Walmart has how many different first party brands?
Yeah.
Dozens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if they see, so by the same token, they can look at what a Glad garbage bag goes for.
Sure.
I say this out of direct experience because I just ordered some great value garbage bags from Walmart yesterday. So, I can look at what Glad, how much money Walmart makes on a Glad garbage
Mm-hmm.
bag, a box of Glad garbage bags, and
Sure.
figure out, and if people are returning them to the store, they also have the return data.
Sure.
So by the same token, should we not also be investigating Walmart and Target and other stores that have first, what would you call it, that have house brands? I mean, granted, the market power of Amazon is so much greater, and that's why the damage could be so much greater.
And the fact that Amazon also offers essentially a white label of Amazon, right? They have shop software that runs on AWS. That there's more.
Wait, so are they being accused of using that data or data
I
from Amazon.com?
I don't know, but there's definitely compare just comparative to Walmart or Target. The potential for abuse could be far higher for Amazon than for, well, Target and Walmart together, probably in the grand scheme of things, because the overall data collection that a site like Amazon has in, how many times does somebody go back and view a product before purchasing? Uh, you don't know that of people shopping inside of a Target or inside of a Walmart. How many times does somebody go look at the C9 athletic wear before they actually make a purchase, because that's kind of a white label ish for Target. Um,
Man.
that when you're talking uh, physical retail, there's a whole lot less data. Plus, Walmart and Target don't do the same kind of ad affiliate programs that Walmart has, where they've got Google style, autofill ads and things like that. Amazon has a lot more data, I think, than the other two possibly together. But the fact that they kind of own the internet when it comes to online retail doesn't help their case, because does does Bing uh, prior well, I mean, if Microsoft owned a video service, would Bing prioritize video results from Microsoft YouTube versus YouTube? Potentially, but at 11% of the search market, nobody's gonna necessarily care about that. But when Google does it with YouTube, people start going, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's when you have more than 50% of the market that people start to get worried.
What, you mean no
So,
one's concerned about anti-competitive behavior at DuckDuckGo?
well, you know, in the grand, based on their business model, no.
I actually don't know what the business model of DuckDuckGo is, but
They've got
it was coming
they
up as my search engine before.
they are a privacy focused company. That is their thing. So
Hmm.
they don't store anything. So would I be worried about anti-competitive from them? No. But anyway, um, there's some concern that he may not show up for this call in front of Congress, and they have said that they are prepared to subpoena him if necessary, because he's been a little cagey on the topic, which just adds to it. As far as I'm concerned, if you're dodging a topic like this with Congress, even if you're not guilty, it sure smells like it. You know what I mean? Just seems like you're messing around. So anyway, they're gonna get answers on this, and it probably won't take long to do so. This week's DRM not included on F5 Live is semi-ironically powered by Amazon Prime. Uh, in addition to your free shipping, there's a whole lot of content-based stuff that you can get. Stuff that Abram and I both love. Amazon Prime Music, which gives you several million tracks that you can stream for free. There's Amazon Prime Video. It has TV, movies, documentaries. That's Abram's go-to.
Watch Bosch.
That's available as part of your subscription. Then there's my favorite, which is Twitch Prime. It gives you one free subscription to the content creator of your choice. A subscription versus a follow is actually a financial support of that content creator. And with so many people being out of work right now, you know, getting to financially support a content creator like Plug Hits Live is for free is fantastic. But you also get free games for yourself available for your through your account, and all of that is available included in your Prime subscription. If you're not already a Prime subscriber, we have a free 30-day trial, and we have quick links to all of these features to make it easy for you to try. And you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/prime. So as you can tell, just because there might be some anti-competitive investigation with Amazon, we both still like big parts of what's going on there. Like Twitch, which we're streaming to right now, apparently to a pirate. So anyway, so obviously the theaters, the movie theaters, well, theaters too, but movie theaters have been shut down for a little while now. And it has caused some interesting strife within the movie industry, because big movies go to theaters for a predetermined amount of time. There's a 45-day window, and then they show up on DVD or streaming or TV or wherever they go next. Then it becomes the studio's decision on what happens. There's no hard and fast rule. There's no contracts that hold these in place. It's just been this kind of unwritten law of the industry that's been in place for a very long time. It's why you see a movie leave the theaters, then you don't hear about it for a while, and then you start hearing about it again. But with the theaters shut down, the studios have had to make decisions. Some, like Marvel, have pushed most of their movies out into the future, which makes sense because for a lot of people, a Marvel film or something like that is a big screen experience the first time. But some films have decided to go straight to premium video on demand. The best example of that is Trolls World Tour, which is the follow up to the 2016 Trolls movie, which did uh, way better than Universal was prepared for. Uh, they did not think it would do what it did. They didn't think it was going to connect with adults the way that it did. And so they did a holiday special on NBC, and then Trolls World Tour was scheduled to come out just after the theaters closed. And so Universal made the decision to skip theaters entirely and go straight to premium video on demand. Now, what's different between that and regular video on demand? A rental for most PVOD is $20, and when you take into consideration the price of movie tickets, especially for a movie like this that's intended for families, $20 is less than it's going to cost to take the family to the movies. So it's not a bad price, and you don't have to worry about your kids throwing things at the people in front of you. So kind of a win-win. Kind of a win-win because it did amazingly. In fact, current stats suggest that it might have done 10 times what the 2016 box office take was in its first 5 months in the last 3 weeks. So that has caused Universal to reconsider its distribution plans. Obviously, if a movie can do 10 times what they expected in 3 weeks for it to do in 5 months, you have to look into that as an option. But the theaters aren't going to be happy about that. And AMC has already, the CEO of AMC sent a letter to the chairman of Universal saying, we will no longer carry Universal films in our theaters. Starting now. Now, starting now doesn't matter because the theaters are closed. But what they're saying is, we will not carry the next Fast and Furious movie. That's the statement that's being made. Because that's the next big Universal big screen film after the expected reopening of theaters. So there's going to be a battle here because Universal's going to make decisions based on what they're going to make decisions on. And the theaters, based on market research, suggest that maybe companies like AMC might be filing bankruptcy in the next couple of months. So I don't know how this is going to go for anybody. What do you think, Abram?
Well, I'm hoping that this causes Universal to reconsider and release Furious 9 before next year when they had postponed it to. Because I don't know about you, but I can't wait a whole other 12 months to find out how Han came back to life. Which was clearly shown in the trailer. So, like, I mean, maybe the AMC will inadvertently allow us to get our dose of Furious 9 and find out whether it's still all about family. Anyway,
you know way tue much about that. It makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie.
about Fast and Furious. Yeah. I've seen them all. I've seen them all. It's a guilty pleasure.
Okay. I'm good with that.
But but yeah, I've read that AMC is in big trouble. But I think this also tells you that movie theaters in general are in big trouble. Now, here's the thing. I am part of that box office for Trolls World Tour because I am among those that rented it.
Or anti-box office, possibly.
Yes. Well, I guess it's like saying you dialed someone on the phone when there's no dial anymore. Anyway, was that like skeuomorphic? Anyway, so yeah, so it was my son's birthday that weekend, and and the Trolls One had come on TV like a week or two before, and he watched it and he really liked it. And I cannot get him to watch movies, to sit down and watch a movie
Okay.
99% of the time when I want to. So it was his birthday, and he's like, I want to see Trolls. And my first thought was like, $20 to rent a movie? That's ridiculous. Yes, it's cheaper than going to the theater, but let's keep in mind that if you wait like a month or two,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to rent it for $4. So, unlike Han coming back to life, where we just can't bear to go through the rest of this year and through New Year's Eve and still not know, um, we can probably wait to find out whether the hard rock troll manages to convince all to subsume all the other trolls, so people are not listening, so that the the disco trolls, no, that's not disco trolls, no, I don't think that was one of the classical music trolls will no longer exist. um anyway, point point being, it is expensive for renting, even though it's cheap for the theater. And it is competing against renting, because if people can just wait a month or two or three, they can always
Mm-hmm.
the option will be there to rent it, and eventually it'll probably come on free TV and cable if you wait long enough. Um,
And
but
with
um,
something like Trolls, it'll probably eventually be on Peacock.
yeah, so eventually everything is available to see for free.
Right.
So the question is, why do people go to the movies? Do they go to the movies because something came out now and they don't want to wait until it becomes cheaper to see? Or do they go because they
Sometimes.
want to see it on a larger screen? Or do they go because they want to go out of the house like an occasion? Or do they go because they want to be around other people enjoying the same entertainment as them? Those are all reasons people might go to the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it at the earliest possible date is only one of those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is a harbinger of things to come, that people will be willing to pay $20 to see a movie that like 2 months later they could see for four on the same screen in the same living room. Uh, but I think it was very wise of Universal to do this, and I personally appreciated it, because it was the rare thing that my son actually
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to sit down and see, because he's a very tough customer. So um so for that reason, you know, we rented it, but for $20. But I don't know whether people are going to continue to spend $20 to rent movies. Um, I will say this: if it were $20 to see like Wonder Woman, or wait, however many months to rent it, yeah, I pay the $20 to see Wonder Woman because I just got to see it. But in a time where there's 30 million people who filed for unemployment,
Mm-hmm.
maybe forget about whether it's cheaper than the movie theater. I know that that is what the movie theater is concerned about, but what consumers are concerned about is spending $20 to see a movie, like, worth it. So I don't know. I mean, I think AMC now is like, screaming at the sky, like nothing's going to help them. Uh, I don't know. I think movie theaters in general are in a bad way, and
Mm-hmm.
studios are doing what they can. The interesting question is, will Universal and or other studios learn from this and say, "Oh, you know what? We feel comfortable putting out more movies on video
Right.
direct like this."
Right. And that was
And
their
will the
that
creators
was
go along with it too?
that was Universal's point. Not that we're going to always skip the theaters. They said we've all kind of ignored PVOD as a distribution platform because, direct to video has been, the third sequel to Aladdin. It's never it's never
Right.
been the place for theater quality content, but from time to time, maybe that's the right way to go. That's all Universal is saying is from time to time, maybe it's the right way to go. Maybe there's certain content that makes more sense to release to PVOD rather than taking it to theaters. They didn't say, you know what, we're done with theaters, get out.
Right. Well, I see though that they see the trend, but I also think that the symbiotic relationship between physical movie theaters and movie studios will remain really important because I don't know if they can abandon movie theaters and
Mm-hmm.
still make that kind of money on a movie
Yeah.
because I don't, barring Star Wars or whatever, I don't see a lot of people spending. Yeah, now we did it for Trolls because we're all locked
Mm-hmm.
inside, but but when things go back to a more normal state, uh, will people be willing to spend $20 to rent a movie?
Right.
But they know that they're willing to spend $20 or more than $20 to go to the theater. So I think just in order to justify charging people that kind of money. Now, the real danger for those of us who like movies is that what we find out is that the model is completely broken. People don't want to go to the movie theater and people don't want to spend $20 to watch a movie. And so therefore you don't have a lot of movies being made, or at least expensive movies being made because they
Yeah.
can't recoup the cost.
True. Yeah. I'm a theater person, both movie and stage, uh, partially because of the experience, right? The sound system that I just simply can't have, and there's things there's a sense of occasion, like you said earlier,
Right.
but not necessarily everything needs that sense of occasion. Not everything deserves that sense of occasion. And maybe the line is just shifting a little bit to the left. Maybe it's not only the third sequel to Aladdin or Lion King 1.5 or whatever stupid thing. It maybe it's slightly higher budget things can go PVOD or maybe release without the window. That was one of the things they talked about, which is maybe eliminating the window on some stuff. Maybe we go to the theaters for a month and then we don't wait a month and a half to go PVOD. Just they said they just want to reevaluate the distribution model, and AMC lost it. But again,
Well, they're in trouble and they know
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, they're already in a bad place. This hasn't helped them, and so they're just trying to grab onto anything they can before they drown. So, well, that is our show. To those of you, including the pirate on Twitch, who have joined us live, thank you. We always appreciate it, even if it's just yar from the chat room. We always appreciate our live viewers. If you did not join us live and would like to in the future, normally Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. And if you have found us on another way and would like to subscribe and listen on a regular basis, you can always go to plughitzlive.com/subscribe, and there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Pilch Point, Plug Hits Live Presents, and a whole lot more. So with that, I guess before we go, this week we will be publishing the bizarre toilet paper video that we made on amrocktampabay.com. Definitely check it out, because just editing it the rough cut this afternoon, I laughed so hard. It is one of the dumbest things we've ever done, and I love it. So definitely check it out. amrocktampabay.com. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Ivram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.